Everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. I'm still, like, embarrassed about our last run, and yet, here we are, going again. Ooh, not a lot of margin for error on this one. M89Q8, hey! I know you're like, man, NL, I'm excited. Well, I'm excited too, we just got our item. Saves us from immediate despair. I'm excited, you probably recharged the anecdote machine. Nope. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but hey, much like a cast iron pan after cooking a delicious steak, sometimes scraping the bottom results in the best flavor. Sometimes it results in ruining the pan. So I don't really know where the metaphor is going, but it is what it is. It's experimental. It's radical. We're gonna figure out how it happens and do it together, okay? I'm still like, I'm trying to figure out if I've consumed, I've consumed a piece of media in 2020 that was made in 2020. It was The Circle on Netflix, which I already talked about. I do not wish to talk about it again because I thought it was an embarrassment. Last night I watched The Death of Stalin again. If you haven't seen that, fantastic movie. Unbelievable cast. And hilarious. But why do the Russians have British accents? Listen here, okay? Because it's a satire. Ain't nobody ever asking why in the 2004 film Troy, everybody's got a British accent. Doesn't make any sense either, but you know, just once, I would like someone to make like a period film. Not like that, you weirdos. But a period film where everybody did talk like the way you would have expected them to talk. That would probably shut people up, right? They'd be like, I went to this movie. I don't understand what the heck anybody's saying. I haven't seen Apocalypto. I think Apocalypto might be like that, but I've never seen it. I know it's Mel Gibson, but also it's highly recommended, but also I haven't seen it, so it's a whole complicated menagerie of feelings right now. May I go to the item room, please? I would like to. Wait, we did. Okay, let me out then. Sorry. Oh, the old brain's not working out that well today. It's the pinched nerve. So restricting the blood flow to the old cerebral cortex. I don't know if it's actually a pinched nerve. For all I don't know. It's one of those things I'm like, it might just be a sore throat. Human body's very weird. Always aware of the fact, like, sometimes I feel like my body is, you know, like it's me. You know what I mean? And then sometimes I remember that it's instead just like a complicated series of slightly interconnected and related systems, all accomplishing the single goal of keeping me alive for another second. You know? We gotta be real careful with these pills. They have not been good. Like, sometimes I'm like, this is me. And then sometimes I'm not hungry, but my stomach goes like, Mrrr. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I mean, my brain is me. My stomach is like the boiler in our apartment building. It's just, it's not me. It's just a part of what keeps me happy. You know, it's a machine accomplishing something down there. It's very strange. It is really weird to think about sometimes. Like, when I eat food, 99.9% of the time, I'm like, this is great and delicious. 0.1% of the time, I'm like, it's sitting in my stomach right now getting dissolved by, you know, incredibly acidic hydrochloric acid then it passes through my small intestines where, like, all of the possible nutrition is wrung out of it by a series of, you know, enzymes and folds. It's very weird. I think it strikes me more. Well, like, really, when I started to get weird about that kind of stuff, and I don't think I'm particularly weird about it, I just think it's weird, and people not recognizing the weirdness are the weird ones, but, you know, when I was in high school, totally normal. When I started taking, you know, biology classes in university that were a little bit more advanced, that got into the nitty-gritty, I was like, how are we alive? It's like an incredible... How is anything alive? It's an incredible cosmic and chemical accident. I don't mean that in a negative way, I'm just saying. And nowadays, like, you know, especially when I was taking programming, I was like, man, programming is clean. Biology's messy. Programming is like, I want to make this number bigger. You're like, okay, not a problem. Plus, plus. This is real nice. It's real nice. Biology is like, you want to make something bigger? No problem. All we're going to do is create an environment where there's extra genetic and evolutionary pressure for you to be slightly larger. And then, you know, we're going to load up the old genetic dice slightly and then roll them a billion times and we'll see what happens after that. It's amazing that we're not more busted than we could have been. You know what I mean? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about either, to be fair. I'm just kind of spitballing here. I told you, the well is dry, dude. I'm an anecdoteless existence right here. I should have anecdotes tomorrow. I'm going snowboarding. It'll be the first time in my entire life I've ever gone snowboarding. I've skateboarded, you know, I skateboarded for a couple years when I was an adolescent / teenager. Was never great at it, but, like, I get it. You know, and I'm actually a surprisingly good skater. For someone who had never actually, like, played hockey. Went to a lot of, like, you know, just recreational skating stuff when I was a kid. But never snowboarded. The reason I'm snowboarding, well, it's twofold. The reason I'm going snowboarding is because, you know, my wife wants to go snowboarding. So, you know, it's not my favorite activity. I mean, skiing is not my favorite activity. Again, I've never been snowboarding. Maybe this will be transformative. But I don't like to be that curmudgeon, you know, that's like, I will say, you go ahead, I'm not going to go now and then. But I'm not going to say it every time, you know? At least a couple of times a year I like to go. And just be like, is this for me? Nope. Okay, fair enough. But I had an okay time. We got some exercise and the weather was nice, you know? It's like eating mushrooms. I eat mushrooms all the time. I do not enjoy them. But I keep eating them because A, people keep putting them in front of me. And C, where's B? And B, one day I'm just hopeful that my body will be like, yeah, I like these now. Thanks for keeping a light on for me. We haven't had it happen yet. But the reason I'm going snowboarding instead of skiing is because the last time I went skiing, with the pain when I pulled my foot out of the ski boot was like probably in the top 5 most painful experiences I've ever felt in my entire life. It's like the boot had been crushing it all day. May I? Yeah, let's leave. And when I pulled it out, it was like, it crushed it and now there's no support. So it was like my feet were just goo or something. I know you're like, well, it sounds like it was too small. So here's the thing. I wear like a size 12 shoe. So when I got my ski boots, I was like size 12. Used them for a day. And was like, these are too small. I went back, I said, give me a size 13. Same feeling. So I don't know if just, I might need like custom ski boots or something like that. So I don't know if anybody else is in this boat, but I was like, the reason I'm going to be using or I'm going snowboarding instead of skiing, is because the snowboard boots are softer. So congratulations, whoever came up with that invention and said, hey, why don't we make those boots but softer? I really appreciate it. You might have done me an incredible solid. Or maybe 3 or 4 days from now, there will be a video where I'm like, it's actually still an incredible amount of pain. I don't know. I don't know. It beats me, honestly. But hopefully this will work out a little bit better. Because I like the idea of snowboarding. I'm not really like the snowboard culture that I see, particularly, you know, like on YouTube. And also, like, on the ski hill as well. It's weird because I am, in a literal sense, I guess, an influencer. But I do get annoyed when I go... And I don't go skiing very often, but when I, like, would be on the slopes, as they say, and everybody has a GoPro, I'm like, I get it. I get what you're trying to do here. But take it from somebody who's there. Just start playing Fortnite. It's easier, okay? Plus, I mean, those lift tickets are costing you, like, you know, double or triple digits daily. Your margins have got to be terrible right now. But beyond all of that, we're traveling down, you know, nature's icy slide at like 30 to 40 kilometers an hour with nothing but a helmet on. Well, and, you know, your clothes, of course. And getting passed by people at all possible times. Can we just pay more attention to the road than to the GoPro? Also, I don't know. Do you watch those videos back later? Or do you just do the thing where you put the RJD2 track in the back with da-dun dun 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 da-dun dun 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 dun? I'm very familiar with it. I was on YouTube back in the day. It's a Cristiano Ronaldo best goals 2008. Da-dun dun 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 da-dun dun 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 dun. Anyway, all right. I am the one and only. Nobody's home. Anybody who's watched YouTube sports highlights is like, they feel very seen right now. I don't mind losing that bone hard. There's a calculated risk. I like, I mean, it's just like, I hope it's more comfortable. Because, like, I like sports that don't hurt. That's why I've only been golfing like 5 times in my life. But I love golf, dude. Because golf is like, you know, you're just walking around. You're hitting a ball, you're walking around. You're hitting a ball, you're walking around. It's not, no one's ever gone golfing and been like, oh, hey, tragic accident. A Hollywood celebrity died golfing today. I mean, there's probably been people who have died on the golf course. Nobody's like, oh yeah, it was a heart attack brought on by the incredible stress of golf. We go skiing and snowboarding, people are hitting each other, hitting trees, getting buried in avalanches and stuff like that. Golf is like, it's almost a video game. I think that's where sports to watch, I like the team sports. Sports to play, I like the one step above bowling is about where I like to be, personally. That's my 2 cents. Anyway, I'm gonna have fun with it. But I am gonna... Oh, that's so good. Is in the complicated system of marriage accounting, I know that saying yes to going snowboarding, when my wife knows I'm not a big fan of the winter sports of this regard, it earns me. And this is not a negative thing. Sometimes people are like, that sounds like a dystopian way of looking at relationships. It's not. It's just it's an audited compromise. I now have a credit of one sort of favor that I can call in. And I'm thinking about how to spend it. Usually I like to spend it on forcing my dinner choice onto the agenda. You know what I mean? We normally, I'd say probably 75% of the time, I eat whatever Kate wants to eat, and I've talked about my philosophy for that. Namely, I'm just happy to be, you know, eating in general, And if we can just avoid having the what are we having for dinner conversation by somebody stepping up and saying what they would like to have for dinner, that's perfect. Most of the time, I'm very low preference. But sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I haven't eaten potatoes in a month and a half. I would like to have a meal that has some kind of potato component. She's like, I'm kind of feeling sushi. And I'm like, I understand, but ever since we went snowboarding that one time, I've been really craving potatoes for some reason. It's like a mafia threat. And then she's like, we can get potatoes. And I'm like, yeah. I'm glad we could come to an arrangement on this. I don't play the card very often, but now and then. Now and then. Can be a use, and that's again. Hold on. I'm gonna bank on getting the ability to fly naturally. You might think that's a sign of an unhealthy dynamic in a relationship. I actually very much disagree. I read a lot of Twitch chat. I'm very well read in the Twitch chat universe because I read my own chat all the time. The demographic on Twitch, and it's not fair to say because, you know, it's a diverse audience, but the predominant demographic I see on Twitch sometimes, they're like categorically imposed to not getting their own way at all possible times. You know? And I don't think that's a healthy way to look at life. For one, I think that leads to you getting stuck in your ways. You know, that's why, and I love my parents, but I'm throwing my dad under the bus in particular here. My dad he's become more of a picky eater in some ways as he's gotten older. Because he's been enabled to, and he's not like a super picky eater. He doesn't like only eat, you know, rotisserie chicken or something. But, you know, he's been enabled by some extent, by my mom to be a picky eater. Which is also fair in its own way, I suppose, you know? If he's like, I don't want to eat that, and my mom's like, no, we're eating it. I guess that's probably a more healthy or a more unhealthy sign. But at the same time, sometimes it's important to, you know, get out of your comfort zone because you might discover some stuff that you like, you know? If I always got my own way, I would be a much worse person, dude. First off, I would still only be eating like chicken tenders and mashed potatoes for every single meal. And I think above all else, it also, you know, it leads to you being allergic to the idea of any kind of inconvenience or discomfort. And this is a bit of a more ridiculous statement, but I'm going to keep rolling with it because we're scraping the bottom of the pan. You know, I think one of the great life skills I could recommend you cultivate is the ability to be comfortable not being super comfortable, you know? This is going to sound a little rich, you know, coming from somebody who's living in the lap of luxury as a YouTuber right now, but, you know, eating foods that might not necessarily, if you've never tried them, try them. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is you're not going to like them. Or, okay, if you want to get, like, really ridiculous, what if I didn't know I'm allergic to celery and then I ate the celery and I died? Yeah, okay, what if? You know? Wait, what if you go to Google and look up celery allergy and see if that actually exists before we have an argument about it? How does that sound? But, you know, in 999,999 out of 1 million instances, the worst that can happen, you're going to put it in your mouth and go like, nah, I'm not a big fan. Big whoop. Now you know what celery tastes like. And maybe you genuinely don't like it instead of just not liking the idea anymore. And you learn, and this is where it gets ridiculous and a lot of people will disagree with me, but I present it as a joke but also simultaneously believe it. Having gone through an unpleasant situation that is well short of traumatic is a little good for building your character, you know? If you're always comfortable, I think it can lead to you being a complacent person. I'm uncomfortable all the time. I eat foods I don't necessarily like. When I was trying to gain weight, I was eating too much to be comfortable. When I was, you know, now that I'm trying to lose some weight. I'm eating less than is comfortable to a slight and controlled degree. I'm not saying, you know, starvation or, you know, gluttony. You know, running is uncomfortable. Lifting is uncomfortable. There's pain involved, but I think that makes you a better person to experience it in a controlled environment. I think it can make you a better person. What does this have to do with you leveraging a snowboard excursion as an excuse to eat some rotisserie chicken? I don't know. All I know is that sometimes, you know, in chat. Oh, here's where it comes down to, okay? I'm not a master of relationships necessarily, but I know we got a good one, and what we've got works for us, okay? I always find when I talk to other married men, we have very similar experiences, you know? I am not the aberration in the relationship that I have with my wife. We're definitely the norm. But young single men on Twitch are way more concerned than married men that I know about maintaining a semblance of power in their imaginary relationship. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like when I talk to my brother-in-law about marriage, and we're like, yeah, you know, usually for dinner, we just do whatever she wants to do, you know? It's a very normal conversation. Or we talk about it and we come to a compromise, but she probably gets her way a little bit more often. Sometimes stuff like that comes up in Twitch chat. People are like, nah, dude, never. Whipped. When I eventually get married, we're going to eat what I want to eat. Or alternatively, we're going to draw up a schedule, and exactly 50% of the time, each of us is going to choose what we want to maintain the most highest degree of fairness possible. I refuse to take the mark here. It's just too dicey. You could do that, but you would have it's the sign of a serial killer. In all, to be polite as possible. Why you gotta be so weird about it? You know what I mean? Feel like it. We had a great conversation, and I'm not doing a great job of getting my point across. I recognize that. But we had a great conversation on Team Unity once that highlighted, in my opinion, it's not like, you know, people who get married are different people, or, you know, I think it's just you get a different perspective once you've been married. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right, because it's kind of like that, you know, you should always trust me because I'm older sort of sentiment that doesn't necessarily, it's invalid, right? Kind of like a bizarre appeal to authority or something like that, I suppose. But someone in chat was like, you know, hey, my wife asked me what I thought of her annoying friend, and I told her she was annoying, and now she's mad at me. What is your opinion on this situation? And, you know, dumb dog was like, well, if she wanted you to be honest and you were honest and she got offended, that's her problem. Can I tell you something? That's true. That on a literal, objective level, that's the honest to goodness truth. But Dan and I were like, although you're right, I think that's a situation where you run a little question through your own cerebrum, and you go, is this worth it? Big things you should be honest about, 100% of the time. Because if you're dishonest about it, not only could it get you in trouble, but it could make your life miserable, you know? Little things like that. Hey, honey, do you think my best friend's annoying? No! I don't want to... Life's too short to have an honest conversation about stuff like that. What you do, if you want to take my advice, is you enter into it. You wrap a little nugget of truth in a whole lot of, not lie, but in pillows. You know? So, honey, do you think my best friend's annoying? I could see how people would think she's annoying, because she has a very strong personality, and she speaks her mind. But for me personally, I think that's admirable. Notice, I didn't say no. It's like lawyers speak. You've maintained a little plausible deniability, while also not being dishonest. Not as honest as you could be, but, you know, again, it's like you gotta pick your battles sort of thing. Really, I mean, the real married man perspective on that one, I think, is don't ask. You shouldn't ask if you don't want an honest answer. But at the same time, at a certain level, I think you just get smart enough to be like, this is not worth what could possibly be the blowback here. You'd say the expression "happy wife, happy life" is it's astute. And I don't think it's just, you know, like it's an unfair thing, if that makes sense. I think it's happy people make happy people. The happier you are, the more likely you are to treat other people better. The more likely they are to have a positive experience, the more likely they are to be happy and to treat other people better. I think it's that, you know, you put the kid gloves on for a situation like that. That's my 2 cents. But of course, you know, if you were like, honey, what do you think about my parents moving in with us? You don't, if you don't want it to happen, you don't go, well, I could see how some people would be against it. But, you know, then you go, I only get one life on planet Earth, and personally, I know this might be a moment of friction, but at the same time, I don't want an everybody loves Raymond situation happening here. I desire my own personal privacy and autonomy in these regards. You get the idea. That's my 2 cents on the subject. Now, how does that relate to you leveraging a snowboarding I can't believe we didn't get hit. A snowboarding excursion to get a delicious rotisserie chicken meal? Oh, did I not do a good job of tying it into the central premise? And what do you get out of it, by the way, in these situations? You get a partner in crime, a support network, somebody to share the manual labor of the house with, somebody to share your life with, and the experiences that come with it, enriching it in every aspect. What do you lose? 50% of the dinners get chosen by somebody else. Or 75% if you're a coward like me. It's an acceptable price to pay. For me, at least. We've done it. A very easy victory for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!